Hello everybody and welcome back to artofdino.com and saveearth.us. And I've got a cool one today. If you have seen Tartarian Tales 96, I took the first little section, first chapter of that book, pretty much the introduction from that book, and I want to read it here today because Adam Olearius from 1663, i663, wrote a beautiful description about traveling, and it hits home and it's timeless, and I had to preserve it and read it here. And I translated it with the Google Translate, so some of it didn't come out, some of it's in like another language still, but the gist of it you will be able to get. And it's super cool. You can see the translation here, but I'll read it as I show some pictures from around the world and chime in with my own personal thoughts. And I was very fortunate enough growing up to have parents that absolutely loved to travel. They love it. They love it so much. They still do it today all the time. I was so fortunate for that. I didn't realize how fortunate I was, although I did appreciate every second of it and loved it and became a great kind of traveler as a result of it. It led me to touring with my band, where I toured America several times, Europe, an amazing time for several months, and that became my dream, is to travel the world. And that's pretty much one of the main reasons why I do art and music, is because in hopes that one day I will be able to travel around the world and bring my art to places and see places and draw places and do all these things, meet other artists around the world, play music, play shows all around the world. That has always been my dream. YouTube is great at putting a stop to that, same with Facebook and all those places that have stifled me throughout the years. But either way, I push on, and that is my goal and it's my dream, and none of these chumps in the tech industry are going to stop me from achieving it. So I wanted to read this to you all today because I think you all will thoroughly enjoy it, its timeless nature, and just the insight it has into traveling. And some people aren't designed to travel, some people are, and this is a great sum up of all of that. So here we go. Enjoy. It says, Honor Alone is the first thing it says. The first book, the new Persian travelogue, deals with the journey to Nusco and what happened there. The first chapter on the usefulness of foreign journeys. That's it. Bingo. So here we go. I believe that it is one of the great and I agree with this guy. I believe that it is one of the great happinesses that can befall a person in this world who, according to Aristotle's saying, wishes to be called something in another language, a person who is well traveled. If it happens to him that he has the opportunity to undertake distant journeys, traverse the world, see foreign lands and people, and learn about and observe their nature, it is also contrary to the nature of a brave spirit that, like snails, it should always remain indoors, which is quite pleasing to women and housewives. For Lippius rightly and well says in one place, Humilis iste pleba, I'm not really sure what that is, maybe I'll translate it later, and only people of a poor, weak nature and spirit have the desire to sit behind the stove and remain in their homeland as if tied down. But those who follow heaven and have the freedom to move are nobler and full of spirit. I love that line. One more time. Only people of a poor, weak nature and spirit have the desire to sit behind the stove and remain in their homeland as if tied down. But those who follow heaven and have the freedom to move are nobler and full of spirit. And again, I think this is also why they kind of make traveling a little bit dangerous, but traveling is just naturally, inherently dangerous. It always has been. But they will exploit that to scare people from traveling, or they make it so expensive so that so few people can do it, or they ruin perfectly great tourist zones with nonsense and illegal action. So who knows? But either way, this fully expresses the value of traveling the world, and I cannot stress that enough. It is the most priceless thing. It's my favorite time of every year when I leave. I as well feel claustrophobic and nauseous when I get tied down for too long. I just can't handle it. It's like an allergic reaction to my soul. But here we go. It cannot be contrary to God the Lord, who, according to the instructions of Holy Scripture, always had a special eye on the reprobates and foreigners, but rather be pleasing, because he, the great Father of the house, ordained the building of the world for the benefit of man. I love that. He gave the earth as the temporal dwelling place and pleasure garden, so that in one place it is always enriched with different glory and fruits than in another adorns. And because all this, as intended, was created for the will of man, the all-good God also desires that it be known to the children of man and thereby praised. How can it fail if one sees and considers how God, according to his wise counsel, through the course of heaven, nature, and extraordinary circumstances, endows such different places in the world and their inhabitants with various kinds of happiness, entrusts them with wonders and blessings, that one should not be pleased by it, rejoice in it, and with King David praise the great God, hear oneself sing from the 104th verse, Lord, how great and manifold are your works. You have ordained them all, and the earth is full of your goodness. And again, that goes down to my inherent saying, and I know many of you agree with me as well, that everything is perfect. You may not realize it, but it is. It is unbearably perfect. And when that strikes you, there's nothing else that makes sense. And when you look at the world and you think about the world and you see the beauties of the world and you realize that, wow, I could sit down in any of those places and be in peace and feel like I'm in heaven, that is perfection. Now, whoever does not merely traverse the lands like the common messengers, who only observe where the best inns and taverns are to be found, or even like Archipratus, who traveled the world only to seek out and describe good delicacies, as Athenaeus recounts in Book 3, but rather undertakes his journey with good understanding and honest intentions. His travels, besides what amuses him and leads to the praise of God, also bring about many other benefits that can accrue to his fellow travelers and his fatherland. I love that. Again, the purest and honest intentions are so good. And like they say, over the last couple decades, there's become a thing like a bad American tourists, the people who get drunk and act like idiots. I've always realized how nasty those people are, and I've seen them all over the place in firsthand. I've had friends that have become them. And again, I learned at a very young age by watching others that is something you do not want to do. And that's why whenever I travel places, I love meeting people. I can remember stories I've met from people all over the world that I've talked to, and they're amazing. You always learn something. This guy is totally right. And then you bring it back to the fatherland. One can always learn something good from foreign peoples, if one only wishes, and I do, and I'm sure you do too. If their customs and practices are virtuous and praiseworthy, one should rightly follow them. If they are lax or do not suit them well, one should have a reason to act in opposition, and, in such a case, consider oneself and one's fatherland more fortunate than they. Thus, one can also learn good things from barbaric and wicked peoples. The errors of others should serve as an example for the establishment of a right path, says Diodorus Siculus at the beginning of the first book. The errors and missteps of others should be an admonition to us to follow the right path. Therefore, the wise and highly renowned Lockman, when asked where he got his great skill, replied, I learned it from the clumsy and large people. Then what I disliked in their actions and nature, I avoided, as in the Persian Rose Valley. Whatever that means. I say those with good understanding and upright ancestors, like the wise Ulysses, but I am not speaking of such youth and people as Ulysses' servants, who do not know how to govern themselves and control their desires, or who do not know how to look beyond the land, and who, like Socrates, might fall into their rhetoric and say, what can mountain and valley teach me? Well, I've heard people say that. Things like that. We are surrounded by a lot of people like that. Lycurgus, the otherwise well-rhetorical and therefore skilled king, as can be deduced from Plutarch and Lycurgus and Strabo in Book 10, may have forbidden such and the like from becoming emperors. Besides, we Germans are not Spartans, or not all of us in Sparta raised in a nicher culture. They were completely and could learn nothing from other countrymen, but their many Argivians, to whom, if they wish to object to this prohibition of Lycurgus' journey, one must answer with Eudamidas. I'm not really sure what that means. For as one Argivian claimed, the Spartans had not acted unjustly in prohibiting travel, because it generally led to a deviation from one's fatherland's customs and traditions. But you Argivians, he said, when you travel and come to Sparta, you will not be worse off, but better. Plutarch in Lachon Apoph, one should take the abuse of one thing and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So one should not abolish wine because it makes one drunk, nor goods, gold, and silver because they make one proud, and hinder many in attaining wisdom, just as the otherwise kingly philosopher Crates foolishly threw into the sea. We lack no example Civi Presto, I'm not sure what that says. In the aforementioned second epistle, many wise and excellent people have undertaken their journeys through foreign lands of every station, faculty, and opportunity with great success and fame. The philosopher Pythagoras, who from his youth had excellent air and was particularly adept in all kinds of sciences, therefore undertook excellent pursuits. He traveled to Egypt, then to India and Persia to study among the wise, and in Greece he became so renowned that he was considered the most excellent, or as he humbly called himself, the most excellent philosopher, from which Max Plato's travels are also known from the aforementioned Valerius and Cicero. What excellent pursuits the most prominent philosophers such as Hippocrates, Dioscorides, and especially Galen undertook to make themselves more certain and perfect in art and experience is from Pliny's Book 29. Serrano and Fugoffe to consider that I only think of Galen most of all. He, after visiting Smyrna, Corinth, and Alexandria, traveled to Palestine, Syria, and Egypt, and sailed to Lemno and Cyprus to investigate the secrets of nature and the various accidents to which human health is subject. Among the historians, Herodotus certainly attempted to traverse Egypt and Persia so that he could write something certain about them, as can be read in his writings. Likewise, Diodorus Siculus, who undertook to describe the cycle of the earth in his own country, wandered about for many years and traversed the best parts of the world, such as Spain and Europe, as he himself testifies in the preface to this bibliothèque. With what great benefit politicians, jurists, and those who serve worldly offices and wish to govern peoples can achieve with their hoops, no one will doubt. Therefore, many distinguished potentates themselves have borne their favor on distant hoops, as of some Johannes Chokier recount in his fine The Political Thesaurus. Horatius praises Ulysses for this reason when he writes about the art of poetry. Tell me the man who was captured by the Trojans. Then there's some German. The Emperor Trajan, when he faced much danger in the war against the Parthians and went out to explore the nature of the Oceanic Sea and saw that some ships were going to India, he said, "If I were still younger and my assiduous strength and condition allowed it, I would have gone to India to investigate its nature. I know a distinguished and highly praiseworthy prince from whom I also heard about almost the same words, and what the will of such potentates and high heads often does well, if their condition and important official business were permitted, with them it is rightly said what Cicero says, since it is not everyone's station and opportunity to leave their place on distant lands and examine foreign things for themselves, those to whom fortune has granted this, in my opinion, do so by making and publishing a true historical description of them after completing their journey." And that is so true as well. We learned so much, and you can spread it to some, and that's actually taking it onto YouTube now. Like guys like Tibet Travel and Indigo Traveler and so many others are I hope they realize how fortunate they are by having YouTube basically allow them to succeed so that they can pay for all these travels around the world. Those people are so unbelievably lucky, they don't realize it. I hope they do, but they should if they don't. But either way, what a great sacred position it is to have to be able to travel and experience those things and then bring them back to share with others. It really is a divine role, and I wish that for everyone. Here we go. Then others, just as they do by reading ancient stories, like us, are transported to ancient times and distant lands with their imaginations, and the nature of foreign things is presented to them as if they were seeing it for themselves through certain imaginings, and defined, indeed, to speak so, being at home, yet able to travel the whole world. Just as among the four parts of the world, Asia has been the most cordially and distinguished since ancient times, so too in Asia, among the Oriental countries, the Persian kingdom, and this in many other ways, especially because of the cordially regarded other monarchies, that even today their memory makes the country popular among lovers of history, and the knowledge of this current state does not arouse bad desire. Indeed, the Persian lands and provinces, as well as the pilgrimages through them, have been described before this time by various authors, most notably Herodotus, Bizarus, Barbarus, Conterneranus, Briphonius, Boiphardus, and Renatius, so that one might consider a further account of them unnecessary. But just as all things in the world have had their changes and ends from time to time, so too has the Persian Empire so completely deteriorated from its ancient state as described in the histories, that consideration of this, one would search for Persia in Persia and not find it. For almost nothing remains but the bare road and what lies beside it, apart from the mountains and valleys, as due to the circumstances of the previous years ago, from Holstein to the king in Persia, a high princely embassy departed, as we ourselves saw and experienced. Therefore some of the unfortunate ones, because they did not find it according to their imagination in the old order and happiness, and in the process encountered all sorts of hardship and difficulties, abandoned their journey and wrote the following rhymes in Stambach. Why do we so much seek the old privileges? They are subject to these oppressive times. I have sought Persia in Persia, and through my path cursed 100 times. What a great one, but also terrible, because imagine that great Persian Empire is just nothing but dust and rubble, after hearing all these amazing histories of it. And again, how many other places are like that? All of America, North and South, Canada, all of those places probably suffered the same fate. Northern Russia, Tartaria, Australia, Antarctica, probably going through the same thing, a cleansing period. And all of this stuff just keeps on going. But if people didn't travel to them, they would never know. And we would never know. And the stories cannot continue. They can't pass on. We can't learn. And we should, because we are an interconnected world, and everybody should be connected in a way that's positive, with good intentions everywhere. We shouldn't be going to other countries to war and kill other people. That is wrong. That is not necessary. That is so stupid and foolish and barbaric. That's what these people call each other. Now the people that rule and are like, oh, look at these barbarians of the past. They are the worst than any of them in history. So, again, very cool. And this is the very last paragraph of this. In this kingdom, as well as the condition and state of other lands, provinces, and peoples to which we arrived, along with everything else we found noteworthy during our long and arduous journey, which extended into the 6th year, in which we felt it fitting to present to the public, I hereby faithfully and uprightly surrender to the service of the fatherland of the German nation. And again, Germany has a history that is amazing, imperfect, and I really think the strongest, most technologically advanced of ancient history is somewhat centered around Germany. I really do. I feel like they were something, and again, that's why they had to be eliminated in the early 1900s and whatnot. But again, such a cool world. Germany, again, I loved when I traveled there. Everywhere I've ever been, I've loved. England was probably my least favorite, but everywhere else I've really, really loved and would go back in a heartbeat. And I'm constantly watching drone footage to see what other parts of the world there are and just get the feeling from that, because it's another way. Even though you're not hearing stories, you're seeing places, and you can use your imagination to project yourself there. Although it's not good enough, it's never good enough as to be fully immersed in the sensory mastery of another place and another world. And another everything, the smells, the sights, the sounds, the feel, the energy, the air, the ether. It's all different and perfect and unique in every different spot you go. And so I encourage everybody to travel, do whatever you can to travel. If you've been stuck in one spot too long, I always tell people this. People are always like, I haven't taken a vacation in like 5 years. And I'm like, oh man, like I would just curl up into a ball and cry if that was the case. Vacations and stuff are so important, and they try to belittle them by only giving us a few each year, giving us certain time each year, and then in that time you're so exhausted you just want to sleep, you don't want to travel. But it's always worth it. You get energized from travel in so many different ways, body, mind, and soul, into everything. It just gets better. You might meet people that you'll live and know forever. You might meet a connection that can change your life. If you're open and have good intentions, your travel will always go beautifully. So I wish you all the best. Beautiful lives and travels in your futures, and thank you all from artofdino.com and saveearth.us.